share. Recipe share. Share a little recipe with Recipe Share. Recipe Share. Recipe Share. Share a little recipe with Recipe Share.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Recipe Share, a program on AADL TV where we take a few minutes to talk about recipes in a featured category. Today's category is Blast from the Past. I'm Katie, and as usual, I'm joined today by Elizabeth and Beth, who are going to tell us about their recipes. So, Beth, tell us what you chose today.
Alrighty, I saw this. Okay, they've got this cookbook, Tasty Total Comfort, and I found these recipes for perfect pudding cups. And pudding, when I was a kid, that was like one of the first things we made as kids from the box, though. And yeah, it was a thing in our family. But this one, so they have an array of puddings, but the one that I made was a Mexican hot chocolate pudding. And the other thing about that Mexican hot chocolate was that it also took me back to the first time I ever tasted that at, I believe it was a Girl Scout kind of event, or we were invited to, like, the older girls troop. But anyway, I just remember having Mexican hot chocolate. So all that pudding and Mexican hot chocolate, it just really, it was a blast from the past for me. So it's super, super simple. It's with cornstarch, sugar, cocoa powder, salt. Do you guys ever make pudding? Do you ever make it? Okay. Um, you whisk it in, a little bit of half cup of the milk, and then you heat it up, stirring. I don't need to go into it all. Another thing that I thought was really cute in this book was that they say that pudding is the world's great unifier. So many countries have a classic pudding dish like French creme brulee, Indian kheer, Italian panna cotta, and there's Middle Eastern, and then flans and stuff. So, and rice pudding. And so anyway, it was just all around like, yeah, I'm making pudding. And then lastly, as it happened, I wanted to make it for Kurt's birthday later in January. And I did, but as it happened, our sink was out of commission, or our plumbing was out of commission. So like I had a sink full of dirty dishes, couldn't run the dishwasher, just piling up. But I was still able to make pudding because I didn't need my sink really. You know, and it got fixed that day. So that was a good birthday present. But anyway, pudding, man, it's I think I'm gonna make some more. I know some people that would really like it, some little kids. And I do have a picture with some of the spices I used with it. So there you go.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, first of all, that sounds great. I was gonna ask like how it became Mexican hot chocolate pudding. What did
Oh,
you
it's just a little cayenne. It called for a pinch. I think I did a little more than a pinch. So yeah, that's what it is. And cinnamon. Cinnamon and right? Yeah. Cinnamon, salt, cayenne. And then at the end, once it's thick, and by the way, mine didn't really thicken up all that great, but it still tasted good. So at the end, you add some 2 tablespoons of cold butter and vanilla extract and stir that up. And then another thing about pudding is we always liked, when we were eating it, we liked that skin on the top, you know? That's just a part of the charm, I guess. And so even though all these recipes say put your plastic over it and so you don't have that skin, I don't know, to me, it just was a blast from the past. So that's what I
Well,
meant.
we eat pudding all the time, right? But it's from the box. It's like one of our favorite desserts to eat in my house, but like it's because it's great because it takes like 5 minutes and you put it in the fridge. I've never even thought about making it like from scratch. So I'm just like, wow.
It's really good. And you just have to keep stirring it till it's
Yeah,
thick. But like I said, it was still tasty and it was a nice little birthday treat. So
very cool.
Thank you. All right, Elizabeth, what was your blast from the past?
Okay, so I had fun with this one and I was happy because it turned out well. We've talked before about how sometimes older recipes are just kind of odd or maybe just not that good. um, but I found a recipe for something I hadn't heard of before, but it's called a Johnny Marzetti. And I don't know, it's basically I'll give you some background here. So the recipe says a Johnny Marzetti is an iconic American casserole. Um, and it originated in Columbus, Ohio in 1896 when Teresa Marzetti, who apparently was Johnny's sister-in-law, basically created the dish and it became a huge hit at their restaurant that they owned. And it was very popular in Columbus and like a lot of Ohio State, boo, but a lot of Ohio State students like loved it. And so it became this kind of iconic casserole. So I thought that was fun. I hadn't had it before, but I liked this recipe because it modernized it a little bit. So anyway, the recipe basically it calls for it's basically just a ground beef pasta casserole with tomato sauce, but the author of the one that I used kind of modified it a little bit, and I appreciated that. So first of all, it was super easy. What you do is you cook a 12-ounce bag of dried egg noodles. While that's cooking, you chop a green bell pepper and a medium yellow onion, and you also cook a pound of Italian sausage. And basically, once the Italian sausage is kind of halfway cooked, you add the bell pepper and the onion in the skillet, add some salt and pepper, and meanwhile, you're shredding 8 ounces of cheddar cheese. Once the sausage is cooked through and the vegetables are softened, you add 1 can of tomato sauce and a little bit of water just to loosen it up a little bit and cook everything till it's nice and bubbly. And then you throw in the cooked noodles and a cup of shredded cheddar, stir everything together in the skillet, just kind of let it get all warm and coated. You can add some more seasoning. I added some red pepper flakes because I wanted a little bit of heat. And then you put it in a greased casserole dish and sprinkle the rest of the cheddar on top and bake it. It was super delicious. I was pleasantly surprised. My husband also really liked it. He was like, thought it was great. I have a photo here of it right out of the oven, and it's nice and like crispy on top. And I liked this too because I thought there was a lot of options for modification. Like this called for bell pepper and onion. I really liked the onion, but like you could do broccoli. You could add in other veg. Yeah, I really liked it. You could, and even the author said like you could do like ground turkey if you wanted, so it was kind of cool and it was just so easy and it made this like nice casserole dish. So I had it for like 2 nights and it was nice. So my first experience with a Johnny Marzetti, but I thought it was really fun and a blast from the past from 1896 apparently. So yeah.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't think you can go wrong with a Midwestern casserole, first of all. Like that's my heart right there. But and the whole time you were talking, I'm like, I bet this is so good leftover. So I'm excited that you said that. And I've never heard of a Johnny Marzetti, so
I
thanks for
haven't
sharing
either.
that. That's cool.
I was trying to look up if it's, the Marzetti company, like they, salad dressings and stuff. I wonder if
Yeah.
it's related, but we
I
can look.
also wonder if it's kind of like an Ohio thing and
Yeah.
we haven't, or like Southern or more, I don't know, but I thought it
Yeah.
was an interesting
Yeah.
story.
Mhm.
Yeah. Sounds really, really good and easy. Like
Yeah,
it,
good and easy. So,
so wild that they were making that back in the
I
1800s.
know.
Go ahead.
Katie, tell us about your blast from the past.
All right, so the recipe that I am sharing is the second recipe that I've shared from my great grandmother. I again have this recipe card written out in her handwriting, which is special. The first recipe that I shared was for Adventures in Bread Baking. I shared her Dutch brown bread. And I only have 3 of her recipes like this, and the third one I don't care for, so this is probably gonna be it for my great grandmother's recipes. But this is Nut Bars by Eva Riddle. And I like vaguely remember these from my childhood, but they're very nut heavy. So I feel like maybe when I was a kid, I was like not that into nuts. And so that's why they're not like this huge memory for me. But I do remember like seeing them. And I didn't really remember what they tasted like. So I was excited to try it and see what they were about. So you start by making like a cake base for your bars. You cream butter and sugar in a bowl, and then in another bowl, you beat a couple eggs and an egg yolk, reserving your egg white, and then you add flour, salt, vanilla, butter, sugar to your egg mixture. Mix all of that together and you spread it in a 9 by 13 greased pan. And I ran into a little trouble here because it was very thick and difficult to spread and get out to the quarters. I definitely like made it work, but it took some time and effort to do this. I asked my mom about this later because she's made this recipe before, and she said that's totally normal. Like she definitely remembers that being an issue too, but it's possible. You just need to like take your time, get everything out to the edges, and then you make your topping. You just mix brown sugar, nut meats. So you can use any sort of nuts that you want, but I use pistachios, walnuts, and almonds just chopped up. I think it'd also be really good with cashews. Mix those with some vanilla and your beaten egg white, and you just mix that all together and spread it over top of your cake mixture. And then you just bake it at 350 for 30 minutes. And then my great grandmother indicates that you're to cut the squares while they're still hot. So you cut it into squares while it's still hot. And then I tasted this while it was still kind of warm out of the oven, and I was a little like meh about it. I was just like, this is kind of okay. But I put it into the fridge, and then I tasted the next day and it was so good. It was just like improved in the fridge. The flavor got so much better. So I think these are really good cold or after they've been chilled at room temperature, because I did actually serve these for Thanksgiving. And I have got a picture here of how I set them out on my tiered tray. It was very nice and they were a huge hit. But being Thanksgiving, there were tons of leftovers and I did end up eating all of them. So I ended up really loving this recipe, and also I think finding a holiday tradition. So I think I'll make this for Thanksgiving all the time. It was really tasty and everybody liked it.
It sounds really good. I'm just so curious why it wasn't as good warm. I mean, maybe the flavors just kind of had to settle. That's so interesting.
I think that was it. And there was almost like like almost burnt nut flavor to it. Like it was almost too toasty, and that
Mhm.
somehow like leveled out
Yeah,
after it
yeah,
sat for a while. I think, yeah, it just needs to meld.
Yeah,
yeah. Sounds good.
that makes sense. So it was like a shortbread cake, right? Would you
Yeah,
say?
that's a
Yeah,
good way
okay.
to put it for sure. Yes,
Okay. Yum.
Yeah, it sounds really good.
very pleased with that one. All right. Well, we want to thank everybody for watching Recipe Share, and be sure to click the link below to look at the event page on aadl.org to find the recipes we talked about and to share your own in the comments. Join us next time when our category will be party platters. We're looking forward to seeing what you've been making, so thanks for sharing.
Recipe share, recipe share, share a little recipe with Recipe Share.